Every time I turn on the stream, I see some new work that I need to do and something that I need to fix. That is not what I want to see on Sunday nights. Hope you guys are doing great this Sunday evening. I feel like I look tired. You can see these little owl eyes or the raccoon eyes, whichever one you want to call them. You can see those kind of starting to appear under here. That means I've had a good day. It's been a good Sunday, right? When I look tired, I know that it's been a good, busy, I've done something this weekend, right? I didn't just lay around, and feel fat and bloated because I ate like lots of chips. That's what I do when I sit down and I relax too much. I munch chips, right? I watch a movie and I munch chips. And what does my wife do? She sits there and munches chips and watches movies too. We are on the fast track to being old. What's the PC thing to say nowadays? We're on the track to lead our best lives. Let's say it like that. Let's keep it positive. All right. So I promised you that I would do another lesson and then this normal lesson. One, I'm a little late. It's 9 o'clock. But when you have a 9-month-old little girl looking at you and following you around the house, crawling, clapping, and wanting you to hold her, you don't walk away from her to come downstairs and do a stream. I love you guys. I love doing this. People stop in and we have good conversations. I absolutely love doing this, but family first, especially that little girl. That little girl. Oh, I mean, come on. Look at that. Right. And she's kind of whited out, kind of washed out in the video here on the picture here on the phone, but she's such a cute kid. Such a darn cute kid. And the thing is she will grow up so darn fast. So darn fast. Anyway, I promised you guys 2 lessons. We're doing 2 lessons tonight. So here we go. What are we looking at time-wise? I'm going to have to time myself because I do actually want to get some other things done before I go to bed tonight. If we have a busy stream, if people are here chatting, like I always say, I will stay. But I'm going to have to try to watch my time because I need more time to do some more things. All right, where do I need to sit? I feel like I'm not in the right spot. All right, English Weekly Roundup 5/3/2024. So my intention was to do this 2 days ago. So you're getting it on 5/5. But I'm going to leave the date just to add some differentiation between titles and the times so you have a better idea of when I did this and in which order it's supposed to come in. This week's topic was natural disasters. We talked about natural disasters in class all week, had a lot of great questions, and heard a lot of really good stories. We have quite a few students from Indonesia. We have quite a few students from Turkey. And where else? Japan. We had lots of people talking about, obviously in Japan, if you know it, in chat, what is a natural disaster that is fairly unique to Japan and Southeast Asia? These don't happen everywhere in the world. I'll give you a word. This was one of our words this week, but it's one that most of my Japanese students, I think, have 5 or 6 of those 7 all said they are most afraid of tsunamis. Tsunamis are kind of a scary concept. I've never seen one. I have on the back of my phone. If you can see wood carving, this phone case has been around the world and it has fallen out of my pocket down so many different streets, roads, and highways. I'm just amazed that this case still looks as good as it does. But that's the Great Wave of Kanagawa, a very famous Japanese painting. I've forgotten who. Wow. Oh well. Teach English all week, or you teach English for years, or anything for years, and you start forgetting things that you feel like you should know that aren't related. Oh well. A tsunami. Tsunamis, again, are the great waves that are triggered by what causes a tsunami. And again, if no one answers in chat, it's totally fine. But I'm leaving a pause here for you watching the video afterwards, or if you're watching on YouTube at any point in the future. What causes a tsunami? Think about what happens at sea causes a tsunami. A tsunami is caused by an earthquake. It's an earthquake at sea. Causes the vibrations, causes the water to swell, and creates those great waves. This word is a Japanese word. It's the same in Japanese. So English, you'll notice, borrows words from other languages, and then we make them part of our language half the time because there's no reason to change them. It's a good word, tsunami. It's not something we're going to experience in the United States. At least it's highly unlikely that we're going to experience one. I don't want to say impossible, but unlikely would be the truth. But there are a lot of words like this. Another word we had this week, debris. Debris. This is a very French word. Debris. When you look at the spelling of this word, D-E-B-R-I-S, if you can't see the chat, D-E-B-R-I-S, debris. Should be debris or debris, something like that, right? We say it like it has two E's at the end. Debris. Debris. Some people say debris, but a lot of people say debris. Debris. Debris is the broken parts of trees, broken parts of buildings. After a natural disaster occurs, it's what's left over. The debris, the broken pieces of the things damaged and affected by the storm. Debris. All right, now let's get on to the actual words in the roundup. The first word, okay, useful words for natural disasters. The first word, catastrophe. A natural disaster, it's a disaster. It might be a catastrophe. Catastrophe. A sudden and widespread disaster causing extensive damage, destruction, or suffering. So again, damage, destruction. Okay, these are easy to understand. They make sense. You get debris, you get broken things, or suffering. That's human suffering. That's people being in a situation that they can't control and they aren't able to find food. I say potable water, right? Some people say potable water, but potable water. P-O-T-A-B-L-E, potable water, which means water that you can drink. Basically, if it's potable water or potable water, again, I say potable water. If it's potable water, you can drink it, you can imbibe it. That's a good word for drinking. Imbibe. When you imbibe, you take in, you drink. This is water you can imbibe. Aftermath. Word number 2, aftermath. It's the consequences or results of a significant event, particularly a disastrous one. The aftermath is where you find all the debris on the ground when the catastrophe happens. If the catastrophe is a natural disaster, it causes damage, creates debris. What you see afterwards is the aftermath. The aftermath can also be psychological, can also be, according to my heart, emotional as well. So the aftermath, consequence, the effect or results of a significant event, particularly a disastrous one. You could say something about the aftermath of a relationship. Maybe it was a good relationship, and you have positive aftermath. But aftermath, we often link, when we talk about aftermath, we link it to negative experiences, consequences. Not always. It doesn't have to be negative, but most of the time it's understood in a negative way. The aftermath of a significant relationship might mean that they broke your heart. They destroyed your heart. The aftermath can be a very negative thing, too. The person broke your heart. You're very sad. You're upset. You're crying all the time. You're angry all the time. That's the aftermath of a relationship. So you can be creative with the use of this word. Then the word devastation. Devastation just sounds bad, doesn't it? Devastation, severe and widespread damage or destruction caused by a disaster, war, or other catastrophic event. So there's catastrophic. So we have, pay attention to this pronunciation. We have catastrophe, catastrophe. The emphasis is on the second syllable. catastrophe, catastrophe. And then when you use it as an adjective, catastrophic, catastrophic, the emphasis is on the third syllable, catastrophic, right? So catastrophe, catastrophic. And I'll put this in the chat. You can say there was a catastrophic, if I can type this correctly, catastrophic, I'm not sitting in front of my keyboard, so it's a little bit difficult to type with my hands over this way. There was a catastrophic catastrophe. Practice saying this out loud to yourselves. If anyone's brave enough, feel free to jump into the Discord chat or our English. Oh, where is this chat? I put Discord. There it is. You're able to see this. Ah, right there. That's actually perfect. That works out well. So if you go to the Discord, I'll make this a little bigger so you can see it. Go to the Discord, go to Bridge Gaming, and in this, you're going to see we have lobby, gaming, English corner. Up into the English corner chat, and I'll go ahead and I'll click myself into. You can listen to the audio. Here's another trick. You can listen to the audio of this lesson by just joining the Discord. You won't be able to see the video, but you can listen to the lesson right here too. But again, if you're brave enough, join me in the English corner chat. You may have to let me know you're there just in case I have my signals crossed with Discord. I use Discord for a lot of things, and possible that I have the output set to another set of headphones somewhere around. Speaking of headphones, I need to get my headphones. I know exactly where they are. I had to go, we did a production this morning, and I needed my Bluetooth headphones. I forgot to put them back on the computer. Anyway, scoot in here. While I'm here, you can also see that in the weekend, oops, I changed the name of this. I call it the weekly roundup now because I like it better. The weekend roundup, if you go here, this will say weekly roundup 30 minutes after this lesson tonight. Go here and you can find all of the past lessons. Everything's going to be here. Once I upload it to YouTube, I'll post the YouTube video here, and then you can ask questions in the weekend roundup, the weekly roundup. You can ask questions in the ESL Help Center, or, I mean, in general, it doesn't matter where you ask questions. But these channels for ESL Help Center, ESL Task Center, Weekend Roundup, these are the best places to ask questions about this particular stream. The others are places for gamers to chat with each other, right? All right, let me get rid of this. Catastrophe, aftermath, devastation. There was a catastrophic catastrophe. Again, practice saying that 10 times fast. There was a catastrophic catastrophe, a catastrophic catastrophe, a catastrophic catastrophe, a catastrophic catastrophe, a catastrophic catastrophe. 5 is my limit, I think. I'm about to mess up. I can feel my tongue twisting more and more as I try to say it faster and faster. All right. Here's a form of a natural disaster. A landslide. A landslide. Landslide is the rapid movement of a large mass of soil, rock, or debris, there's the word, down a slope. So soil, rock, or debris down a slope. Now, landslide is one type of what amounts to 4 similar types of natural disasters. A landslide, the rapid movement of a large mass of soil, rock, or debris down a slope. When it's wet soil, rock, and debris, what might we call it? I will tell you, this word gives you a clue. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to wait just a few moments and see if anyone has anything to say in chat. When it's wet soil, rock and debris, right? So it's very similar. It's just this soil is wet. Another hint, what do we call soil, dirt, when it's wet? If you go outside during a rainstorm, what gets on your shoes? What do kids like to play in? Sometimes they like to make a pie. Not a pie you should ever eat. My cousin did when I was a kid, but they make a pie out of this stuff. Mud. Wet dirt, wet soil is mud. So we have a landslide. If it's wet soil, rock, and debris, it's almost the same thing. Mudslide. It's a mudslide. Now, when it's rock, rock breaks off the side of the mountain and falls down, tumbles down. What do we call that? That natural disaster is a landslide, mudslide. Seeing a trend? Rock slide. It's a rock slide. Mudslide, rock slide. The last one, when it's snow and ice. What do you think? We have a landslide, a mudslide, and a rock slide. What if it's snow and ice sliding down the mountain? What if you're skiing high up in the mountains and you destabilize some of the snow, some of the ice, maybe some of the rock? Sometimes rock, often rock is included in this too. What do we call this motion of ice and snow down the side of a mountain? If you said a snow slide or an ice slide, you're not quite right. I'm trying to trick you with this one. This word is different. This word is its own word. It's not as easy as landslide, mudslide, rock slide. This one is a Anybody? Anyone? I see a couple of you here. Avalanche. That's it. Avalanche. When it's snow and ice, it's an avalanche. So you have a landslide, large mass of rock, of soil, rock, or debris down a slope. A mudslide when it's wet soil, rock, and debris. And then, a rock slide when it's rock. And finally, an avalanche when it's snow and ice. Sometimes some rock will be mixed in. And then debris might be mixed in also, because if that avalanche takes out some trees or breaks some branches, that's debris in an avalanche. There we are. Landslide, mudslide, rock slide, avalanche. Ask questions if you have them. I am watching chat. Let's take a second and let me show you our little map here. If you've not filled this out and you are watching this stream tonight, this is just a fun way for me to keep track of people who are watching and where you're from. Now, I don't get any information from you. Let me make this small. I want you to see my face when I say this. I don't get any information from you. Don't need to enter an email address. You don't need to enter a phone number. Nothing like that. This is just completely for fun. You scan this QR code, and once you scan this QR code, you will have access to this map. If you're using your phone, it's not the easiest map to place a pin on, so just do it as best you can. This person's probably not from, the Galapagos Islands are a little farther down, I think, if I'm not mistaken. They're not from there. They're probably from Brazil, maybe Argentina. These look okay. You got a little Germany action here, and up there it looks like what? Norway, Sweden. I always get lost with. I always. That's Finland, right? That's Finland beside Russia. Okay, so Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark is what? Here? I always forget. I get lost up that way. But anyway, scan this QR code. It takes you to the map. Tap where you are, and you'll be added to it so we can see where you're from too. And if you want to be more accurate, feel free to let me know in chat where you're from, who you are, and why in the world are you watching my English stream? Why do you have an interest in studying English? I always get such interesting answers to that question, but most people have the same answer. All right. These are phrasal verbs for actions during a disaster. Ride out. To ride out. It sounds like you're going to ride a horse out into some place, the desert, ride a horse out into the plain. But this means to endure or survive a difficult or dangerous situation without being seriously harmed. So you ride out the storm. You stay through it. You endure through it. You survive it, of course, but you ride out the storm. You have some water, maybe some snacks, maybe a candle, or, nowadays a flashlight, or, phone, because who doesn't have a cell phone now? When I was a kid, we had to ride out tornadoes and hurricanes with a candle. I had a book, snacks and drinks, and we would just wait in a closet until the storm would blow over and everything would calm down. So ride out the storm. Mass evacuation. Mass evacuation. It's an organized movement of many people from a dangerous or threatened area to a safer location. So a mass evacuation. You have two options during a disaster. There are some other options too, but the two we're talking about, you can stay and you can ride out the storm. Fingers crossed you'll be safe. Fingers crossed nothing serious happens and you'll be all right. Or when a storm is going to be bad enough, or any natural disaster, this can be an earthquake, it can be a storm, a tsunami, this can be a meteor falling to the ground, any type of natural disaster. If your local government knows it's going to be bad, right? Unfortunately, we live in a time, a day, an age where we can track a lot of natural disasters and we can know when they're coming. We miss them sometimes, but we do a lot better now than we did in the past. They might order a mass evacuation where everyone leaves to go to safety, or a hurricane to go somewhere inland, to another state maybe, or to the inland portion of their state. If you look at, the map's a really good example here. Where is that map? My pointer. There we go. So in the United States, if you live here, you go this way. If you live down here, you go this way. If you live over here, go this way. And if you live up here, well, guess what? You're already inland. Here, I'll put that over here. This is one, I'm not so sure we need to hyphenate this anymore. A lot of words that we had to hyphenate when I was a kid, we don't have to hyphenate. You'll notice in English, that happens a lot. Words that are hyphenated tend to be hyphenated until they're just not. So they become so common that they are not needed any longer. Or they don't need the hyphen any longer. That's what I was thinking. I think that does it for this one. All right. And at the end of each weekly roundup, I like to take a moment and talk about the questions of the week. These are questions that my students had the most fun with or had the most interesting answers to. This week, I'm going to take a sip of what am I drinking tonight? It's a live ancient mushroom elixir. My wife always, when she goes to Trader Joe's, she always gets the weirdest drinks for me. And I love it. I absolutely love it. She got, these are over here. She put them on my desk. Sparkling apple cider vinegar beverage. Okay, that's pretty tame. That's normal. And then you have Synergy Peach Paradise Raw Kombucha. Again, pretty normal right there, right? But this one, a live ancient mushroom elixir. Crap is it? And then you read down here, you read it. Root beer? Say what? Is it good? Nah. I mean, it's different. Is it kind of a bland taste? There's not a lot of taste to it. And then the aftertaste is root beer. It's not bad. It's just a very interesting beverage. I don't know what to do with that one. I'm undecided on how I feel about it. All right, question 1. Should certain members of the community be considered first when organizing a mass evacuation? Why or why not? What do you guys think? Type in chat. Let me know what your thoughts are. Should certain members of the community be considered first when organizing a mass evacuation? We got that chat. We also have the Discord chat. So let me make sure I have that pulled up too. Okay. What do you... I got you on Discord. Okay. Yeah, this sounds good. So certain members of the community that we would consider would be women and children. Sure. Women and children. That was part of the number one answer this week. Most people said women and children, pregnant women, to be more specific. They would say pregnant women, children, the elderly. Now, the elderly, some people said that the elderly might be the last they would get because they believe that a lot of elderly people, this was just a really interesting, I'm not trying to give you my opinion here, but this was what people said in classes this week. It was really interesting that they would say that they feel like the older people, the elderly people, might want the younger people to go first because they have their whole lives to live. The elderly person might be ready for their time. And I thought that was interesting because I expected more people to say that, yeah, men, women, children, the elderly, and then the disabled. So disabled people, people who might be in a wheelchair, people who need help or assistance to get places or to get things done in life, disabled people. And that's pretty much standard evacuation protocol. You go with the pregnant women, children, the elderly, and it does depend on where you are. And then who else did I say? What did I just forget? Disabled people, right? Able-bodied. So the opposite of disabled, we would say most regular people, we would say are able-bodied people. Able-bodied men and women would be able to help with the evacuation process and might be the last to evacuate because their job would be to make sure everyone else gets where they need to go. Interesting thoughts on this question. Question 2, excuse me. It's the root beer and the mushroom. That tasted like mushroom. Okay, all right. I don't know about this one. Ugh. Why do you think some people choose to ride out natural disasters in their homes rather than moving to somewhere safe? Why do you think this? This is something that when I think about Hurricane Katrina and some people I knew who lived in Louisiana at the time, a lot of us in North Carolina, that's where I grew up. That's where I call home. We live in Virginia near DC right now, but I still call North Carolina home. We all wondered, okay, we're used to hurricanes here. And when we have a category 4 or 5 hurricane strike our coast and we're at the coast, we leave the coast. We evacuate. We go inland to get away from the storm. People in New Orleans knew the storm was going to be bad. They knew the chances of rain was going to be high. They also knew that anytime they know, it's not even they know that anytime there's a big storm, there's a chance that the levees, which are like dams, will break. And New Orleans is below sea level. So when water rushes in, a lot of water rushes in. And that's what happened after Hurricane Katrina. The winds were high, sure, there was damage and debris from the storm, but then the water damage. It was the flooding. And again, remember, flood looks like FLOOD, same as blood. We don't say fluid and blood, it's flood and blood. Another common English mistake. The flooding was so bad, and people had chosen to stay. A lot of elderly people had chosen to stay. A friend of mine, their grandmother, stayed, and she did not make it after the storm, casualty in the storm. And, to us in North Carolina, that sounded crazy. Like, why would you not leave? Why would you not? Discord again, saying, wouldn't leave because, yeah, that's it. They wouldn't leave because that's their home. This is the place they know. This is where they live. These are their things. It's their home. They want to protect it. They want to immediately begin cleaning up. They want to make sure that after the storm, looters don't come by. Looters are basically like robbers, right? Robbers take money from people physically or directly. A looter steals from their home or steals from their car when they're not there. So robbers and looters. They want to make sure their home is safe from looters after the storm, because looters do come by in a lot of coastal communities. This is where I'm familiar with this happening. Usually, your hurricanes are going to hit the coast the hardest. The coast, of course, again, you can probably see up on the map up there. It's a little small, but the coast is where the water meets the land, and you go inland a little bit. I say, 30 miles or so, and that's still a coastal area in general. But, we lived on the coast. We always went inland. Why in the world will people stay? It's their home. It's as simple as that. And you get to a point in life, I feel like, where your home is your home and you don't want to be out of it. You don't want to leave it. Now, you go out and you spend time outside, you meet friends and do things, right? But it's your home. This is your identity. This is who you are. This is where you live. And again, it makes a lot more sense to me now than it did when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I thought it was just the craziest thing. But like you said in Discord chat, it's home. Simple answer. If you guys have any thoughts or any questions about this lesson, make sure you send them. You can send them to me on Twitch, or when this is posted on YouTube, if you're watching this after the fact, because I do expect a lot of people to watch these videos after I record them, at least as we get started and people get familiar with what I'm doing here on Twitch and why I'm doing it. I expect the YouTube videos to have a little bit more engagement. So feel free to ask questions there. I do monitor it. I do check it. Whatever questions you might have. I'm trying to think if there were any more major questions people asked during this lesson. I don't think so. All right, we're hitting 35 minutes. That's all right. It's a little longer than what I wanted this one lesson to be, but that'll do. Our next lesson for tonight, and now this is the real one. This is the real lesson for 5/5/2024. I'm gonna need to get another sip of this questionable mushroom root beer, but hey, gotta keep my whistle wet, as we say. Your whistle wet, my whistle, right? Whistle. We would call our throat, or we refer to our throat as our whistle. When it gets dry, it's difficult to talk, so I need to wet my whistle. That's really common to say. I'll put that idiom in the chat. We've learned that people, English learners, and this is all my classes, it doesn't matter if you're a child learning English, it doesn't matter if you're a college student, a high school student, or an adult, everybody wants to know the idioms. So you'll notice I have and use a lot of idioms in class. They're difficult to learn, remember, and understand until you know the context in which they come from. So the idiom is, let's just say I need to wet my whistle. I'll give it to you like that. I need to wet my whistle. Remember, a whistle, I don't whistle from my throat. I can't, if I'm whistling from my throat, there's something wrong. That means I probably can't breathe. But a whistle, wet my whistle. All right. This one is about the law. The law. This was a very dense topic, and I'm going to be doing another video lesson on this topic, probably calling it the legal system, at least in the US, because I'm from the US. I can talk about the US legal system, the Argentine legal system, the Chinese legal system. I can never remember who does what or what is what throughout most of Europe. I know my specializations, my areas of expertise, and that's okay. So law. Lawyer, attorney. This is the first set of words. Lawyer, attorney. A lawyer or attorney is a person who is qualified to offer advice about the law and represent or defend someone in court. A person who is qualified to offer advice about the law and represent or defend someone in court. I encourage you at home to read these along with me. Of course, I can't hear you, and that's good. You'll be able to hear what I say and then repeat it. Practice your pronunciation, practice following the same speaking pattern I'm speaking in. And always let me know if I'm speaking too quickly. I don't think so, but I'm not a teacher who's going to say a person who is qualified to offer advice. That is not how people speak. That is not how native speakers speak whatsoever. The way I speak is a little slower than the way I normally would speak, but I do focus on pronouncing words correctly and trying to sound as natural as possible while teaching, while speaking. Hopefully you recognize that. Those people in chat who stopped in, they've said it sounds good, and I take them as the authority. All right, so a lawyer or attorney. What is the difference between a lawyer and an attorney? I don't know why that's a capital L. That's unnecessary. Tell you what, let's fix it. While you guys think about this question, let me go ahead and just fix this up so it's ready. I also post these on the Discord. I can make them available probably on YouTube. I'll think about it. But these are definitely available on the Discord. And actually, that's my preference. If you guys can come to the Discord and pick this up from there, that's fantastic. You'll get the exact slides exactly how they are. What is the difference between a lawyer and an attorney? A lawyer has a degree and an attorney has a degree. Does anyone know what that degree is? If you go to law school, you leave law school in the United States with a JD, which is a Juris Doctor. They call you a Juris Doctor. You might call this a Juris Doctorate. So Juris Doctor, Juris Doctorate. JD. Attorneys have these and lawyers have these. That's the same. Where they're different, attorneys have done something extra. You have any idea what that is? Wondering if you're going to know it on Discord. Not exactly. No, not exactly. Attorneys, so a lawyer practices law in the courtroom, and an attorney practices law or doesn't practice in the courtroom. Flip that around. Flip that around. Change it. Lawyers could possibly practice in the courtroom. They can possibly appear in the courtroom, but an attorney has passed the bar exam. This is the examination that each state has a bar exam. It's their rules, their regulations, their laws. You pass an exam and you're certified as an attorney to practice law in that state, represent people in courtrooms, and do everything that an attorney is able to do. A lawyer, on the other hand, is not bar certified. So often lawyers, people who don't want to get bar certified, may work for a business or a company. They may work in corporate law. A lot of corporate lawyers are also corporate attorneys, but corporate lawyers do a lot of the research, right? They research the law, they advise the company how to stay out of trouble, they write contracts and perform other regulatory functions like that. As the attorney is the one who would go to court to represent the company, right? They pass the bar exam in the state where the issue is, so they would represent them in court. That's a simple definition. There are some things I'm not saying, but the most important difference is that an attorney is certified and they've taken the bar exam, they've passed the bar exam, they are an attorney at law. I just can't get over the first taste. The first taste of this little mushroom root beer is interesting. The aftertaste is root beer, and it's so bizarre. The next word here is a defendant. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit. It is Sunday. I've had some time to rest it, but after a long week of teaching, sometimes this is what made Friday nights stream, Friday nights English corner, English weekly roundup so difficult, is that my voice starts to go a little bit. Then I have to sleep, and then I start classes later on Monday morning. Usually by that time, I'm A-okay. But a defendant, it's a person accused of committing a crime in a court of law. A defendant is the accused. And that's what I've written down here. Accused is the alleged, is the defendant. There are some slight differences in these words, but an allegation, let me type that word in chat, an allegation is an accusation. So the accused is the alleged, is the defendant. These two words are two of the uncommon English words where you might say the accused or the alleged, and people won't think you sound crazy. Often when you pronounce the ED, they say, why are you talking like that? You're talking like a Shakespearean play. Why? What's the point? But with these words, you might actually hear the accused and the alleged. It's more common than with other words, these legal words. So the accused, the alleged, or the defendant. Notice accused and alleged are totally fine to say. The opposite, the other side, the one who makes the accusation, the one who brings the charges against the person, is the accuser, the plaintiff, or the prosecutor. So the accuser is your safe word. This is a more general word. It's the one who says that the defendant did something. The plaintiff, this is what we call the person who makes a complaint. Plaintiff, complaint. They make a complaint to a judge about, it's a small claims case usually. They make a claim that the person did something to them that hurt them, cost them money, they didn't pay them for a service, they owe them money for something. This is a plaintiff, right? Usually they talk to a judge directly. A prosecutor is who you'll find as the accuser or the one bringing the case against the defendant in, let's call it the big court. I'm going to be careful, the big court, in criminal court. This is where the person is being accused by state. The crime is against the state. It's not against one individual person. It's not a private case. It's not a case between people. It's a case between someone and the state. These cases are for anybody who commits the big crimes, right? When you think about the big crimes, they'll be tried by a prosecutor. We say tried. Let's say it this way. Let me give you a few words here. They are tried by a prosecutor in a, just lost my thought. They are tried by a prosecutor in a trial. Let's give you this word too. Trial. Trial is the process, the examination of the evidence to see or decide if the person is innocent or guilty. If the person, the defendant, is innocent or guilty. They are tried by a prosecutor in a trial. Sounds a little odd to say tried and trial, but this works. This sentence works. Just like a catastrophic catastrophe. The sentence works. So the accuser, the plaintiff in small claims court, and a prosecutor in criminal court. Again, there are some other distinctions we can make, but that's it in a nutshell. One of my favorite idioms, in a nutshell. I know you've heard me say this before. I know that I've had this in a lesson previously, but it's a good one. Like I said, it's one of my favorites, in a nutshell. Next word here is jury. The jury. The jury is a group of people who listen to information during a trial and decide if someone is guilty or innocent. So here in the United States, this is a very important group of people. So in a criminal case, the defendant, because they're not a criminal until they're proven guilty, defendant in the case will have their lawyers make a case to the jury, which is a jury of their peers. A jury of their peers. A little lazy with my capitalizations here, but that's all right. A jury of their peers. What are peers? Someone tell me, what are peers? Peers are not your friends per se, not exactly. A jury is, it's the people who are like you, the people who are statistically like you, demographically like you, similar socioeconomic status, similar income, the money you make, similar types of jobs, similar education. They're statistically like you in our society. Everyone in the United States, when you're a citizen of the US and you move to a home in the US, you will not apply. You will register. It's mandatory. You have to register for jury duty. And what they'll do is they'll send you a letter in the mail that says, it's called a summons. That letter in the mail is a jury summons. Let me put the word jury before this word. Jury summons. You get a jury summons that says you might need to be in court on this date to be part of the 12-man, 12-woman jury trying the case. Your jury summons does not mean you absolutely have to appear. Usually a group of people get a jury summons, and then they select people from that group to interview and bring into the case as part of the jury. I've been summoned 3 times. 2 times I got out of it. 2 times I said, hey, ho. Once it was, I had class. I'm in university. I have classes. I can't skip my classes and come. which I guess I could have skipped my classes, but I didn't want to go for jury duty. Jury duty. The second time I was in China. So I was living, working in China. I not able to come for jury duty from China. The third time was here, our old apartment, well, it was our old townhome that we lived in Vienna, Virginia. I was summoned then, but I had to call a number around 5 or 6 in the afternoon, evening, and I called that number. They told me that I didn't have to appear. They said, you are not in the range of people who are being selected and pulled to the jury, so you are off the hook. They didn't say that exactly, but I was off the hook. I didn't have to go for jury duty. I said, yes, thank you, because I really thought it was at a really bad time. We had some travels planned around it, and I couldn't say, hey, I'm traveling. I'm going on vacation. I can't have jury duty. Oh well. Oh well. It worked out. So the jury, again, a jury is a very important part of an American trial, right? The U.S. system, this is one of the best things we have, is that we have a focus on a jury of your peers so you get a fair and equal trial as much as possible. Sure, there are some inequalities, some inequities, but you at least have a trial by jury every case. And it's so, so important that we do that in the US because it gives us the opportunity to prove our innocence. Any of us could be accused of something. And fortunately, we can't just be accused of something and someone pays someone money and then we go to prison, what have you. We have the right to a trial by jury, thankfully, which gives us an opportunity to tell the right story and to set the record straight. Set the record straight. That's a courtroom or law related idiom. Set the record straight. In the courtroom, they keep a record. So they keep notes. They keep a record of everything that happens in that courtroom, unless the judge says to strike, strike, strike it from the record. Everything goes on the record so they can review it later and make sure procedure was followed and things were done the right way. So if a jury is what, how do I want to say this? If the jury is who decides who is guilty or innocent, what does a judge do in a courtroom? What does a judge do in a criminal court? Right? If you're a plaintiff in a civil court, in a civil case or a small claims court case, then you'll speak directly to the judge and the judge will make a decision. But in criminal court, a judge, one, manages the courtroom. He or she facilitates. The voice again. Facilitates. They manage the courtroom to make sure procedures followed and everyone's doing what they are supposed to. Simple as that. Now, at the end of the trial, if the jury returns a verdict, which is the decision, a verdict, again, verdict, a verdict, the decision, if they decide that the defendant is guilty, then they will leave that trial and come back a few weeks later for a sentencing. A sentencing. The judge is who decides on the sentence. The sentence is the penalty. It's how long the person will go to prison. It's how long the defendant will go to prison, what fine the defendant will have to pay. Whatever that penalty is going to be, the judge decides it in sentencing. Let me take one more word here. I said the word prison. There's another place that you could possibly go. Prison. The other place is, any ideas? Starts with a J. Jail. Jail. Prison or jail. Simplest way to think about this, you go to jail for a short time, you go to prison for a long time. If you're sentenced by a judge, you go to prison. If you're caught committing a crime, they will send you to jail. You will wait in jail until your trial. And then if you're found guilty, the judge will send you to prison if that's the sentence. Um, there's something else called bail. This is an important word also, bail. Bail is some money you can pay so you can get out of jail before your trial. People who have the resources, the money to pay for bail, pay it, go home, wait for the trial. Then when they appear for trial, they're reimbursed that bail money. There's something called a bail bond. If you don't have the money, which a lot of people don't have the money to pay bond, to pay bail, excuse me. A lot of people don't have the money to pay bail. They can get a bail bond, which is basically a loan that most of the time has some pretty high interest on it. So again, interest on a loan is money you pay for the service of getting that loan. Bail bonds can be expensive. And of course, if you're a poor person who has committed a few crimes and you have a few bail situations that you've paid for with bail bonds, you might owe some money, right? They reimburse the money if you appear in the courtroom, but they don't pay for the interest. You still have to pay for that some way, shape, or form. So a bail bond. Jail for a short time, prison for a long time. Jail before a trial, or when you're being a domestic disturbance, when you're being a problem, police might take you to jail, let you calm down, and then you can go home. Jail for a short time before a trial, and then prison for a long time, maybe after the sentencing. There we go. Again, simple. You can look these up on your own, do a little research, but that's basically the difference between the two. All right, let's go on. I'm giving you one extra slide today because I didn't give you a phrasal verb or idiom for this lesson. This one, stand up for. When you support and defend someone or something, stand up for what you believe in. You stand up for yourself. Tell me, anyone who's watching now in chat, I'm going to let you take this. I may talk about this for a moment, but again, I'm trying to watch my time a little bit. I'm going long, but what I do, I get on a roll, and I don't know, I like doing. I do. Even if I'm just talking to myself a lot of the time here on Twitch right now, it helps me recap my classes, think about my students, the mistakes they made, and it helps me also to explain these better when I'm live in the classroom, when I'm asked a random question, because I'm always asked random questions about these topics. It helps me just be prepared mentally. um, do you find it easy to stand up for yourself and your belief? Do you? What makes it difficult to stand up for yourself and your beliefs? Take a moment, type your responses in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and write it in the comments. Find it easy to stand up for yourself and your beliefs. What makes it difficult to stand up for yourself and beliefs? I've always been a person that's had an easy time standing up for my beliefs. If I believe it, there's a good reason I believe it. I'm open to being wrong. So if you can talk to me, disprove what I believe, that's completely fine. Right? So when I stand up for my beliefs, I'm not vehement. I'm not angry. I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. That's not how I approach these. But situationally, if I see someone mistreating someone, I will almost always go and do something, say something, not so much do something. I'll put myself physically between them, maybe, but I'm not going to touch the other person, right? Unless I haven't had to yet. Let's say it that way. Only that's another story for another time. In China, I do have a story, but remind me of this, and I'll tell it some other night when we're not going so long. Um, if someone is talking badly about someone or yelling at someone and it's just wrong, I will say something. I've always been that way. I don't think that's ever going to change. If I'm in a situation when I'm at work, this happened years ago. I was working in an advertising agency, and I was out for lunch with a group of men that, I mean, businessmen, right? Our waitress, obviously, you could look at this girl and you could tell that she was tired. She was having a bad day. I heard someone yelling at her back towards the kitchen. I don't know if it was a cook or if it was a manager. I have no idea. But you could tell that she was stressed. She was tired. She was writing everything down. One, and we're making fun of her. Oh, she had to write everything down. Tired. I've worked in restaurants, a couple of them. And you know, if you've ever worked in food service or people service in any way, know that the general public can be absolutely nuts. All of us who've worked in service know that people are just, they don't make any sense sometimes. But these guys would not leave her alone. They kept hassling her, asking her for more things, and they were laughing about it. They thought it was funny, trying to make her trip up, trying to make her struggle. And I said something, and I know that it hurt my position in the company. I was interning at the time, right? And I said something, and I don't think it was the reason I didn't continue there. I think it was one of a few reasons. Let's say it like that, that I didn't continue there after that internship was over. But the truth was, I was kind of happy to be away from those jerks because, you know, one guy was self-proclaimed rich, and he would talk about it all the time. It was nobody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear your arrogance. That's fine. You went to this school, you did this, you did that. Money's not a problem for you. That's great for a lot of us. And that waitress, it is, you know. But I made sure I left that girl. I left her such a good tip that day. I didn't have to leave. I think it was $20. I'm pretty sure I left $20 that day. Didn't have to. Um, the other guys left a little bit, but I said, and I went up to her. I was like, I'm sorry for the way that my colleagues acted. Take this dollars. I know it's not that much, but I fully understand where you are. And you know, just the look she gave me, I remember talking about now. I remember the look on her face. Thank you. Means a lot. A little bit of humility, humbleness. Leave the arrogance somewhere else. Stand up for what you uh in most cases. Now again, some of our students this week said that it's difficult to stand up for what they believe in. Some of my students are Persian. I say Persian, I mean people who are Iranian, but they live outside of Iran. Most of the people who say they're Persian don't live in the country currently for reasons that I will let you guess. There was a rapper, I don't remember his name, but it was earlier this last week. He was imprisoned for singing his lyrics. He sang something that current government did not like to hear. He wasn't inciting violence. He wasn't calling for a revolution. He wasn't saying anything directly, harshly against them. He was talking about change, basically, right? How people, forgotten the lyrics. I don't want to misquote this, but he was talking about the people and just sentiment, this feeling that permeates the. But he was sentenced to death, not just life imprisonment, not long-term imprisonment, not financial fees or fines for what he said in a song. He was sentenced to death. He been what is the, well, let's just say, have they carried out his sentence? I don't think yet. I don't think so. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I don't think anyone does. But all of my students, all of my Iranian Persian students mentioned this guy this week and said, you know, we want to stand up for our belief, but we can't because of that situation. And it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm a person who I care about people. That's heartbreaking. It really and truly is heartbreaking. And keep that in mind when you think about Iranian people. Do not think that everyone is the same. I'm going to say that and leave that alone for another time. But please be very careful with how much you assume about people you've not met, about places. That's all I'll say about that. The question of the week, if the last question wasn't the actual question of the week, this one: sometimes innocent people are put in prison, even though they have had a fair trial. Why do you think this might happen? Again, take it to chat. Let me know what you think. But students this week said that, well, maybe their lawyer is terrible. Maybe their lawyer sucks, is what one student said. Maybe their lawyer sucks. Maybe so. You're unlucky and you have a bad lawyer. Maybe you don't have enough money to hire a good one, and you just got the free one, the court-appointed attorney. Then, I mean, good luck to you. Innocent people put in prison. This is where Iranian students piped up here too. My students from South America, Latin America, Mexico piped up here as well. I have a student from Belarus and a couple students from Russia. this is where they started talking. They said, yeah, if there is money against them, if someone makes up, they use the word allegation from the lesson. You know, it's always nice when your students use words they learn from you in class, right? The alleged person, the allegation against them is fake. Someone makes up an allegation because they want them to go to prison. So in some countries, there is a certain level of corruption. Again, I'm not trying to point my fingers, but you can think about places you know of that are not as straightforward. Not like the US is perfect. We're not. But at least that level of corruption is hard to come by, because if you're caught lying with an allegation, or if you come to a courtroom and you are a witness and you lie to the court, big penalties come. Right? There are some major penalties for that. That's a whole different ballgame. When you start lying in court, you're going to have your own criminal trial, and you will be sentenced to prison. There's no question. Um, Again, other places, there are different ways to get around legal problems, right? Um, think about the places you know, answer this question, and I want to see what you all come up with before I say too much more, because we get into politics and multicultural with this one. But again, I think I've been descriptive enough for that all to make sense. I'm way over time. I've done the best I can to consolidate, but I get going, and well, this is what happens. I enjoy doing this, you all. I truly enjoy hopping on Twitch and just thinking about my week, thinking about my students, my classes. This is a free class for you here on Twitch. Enjoy it, use it. They'll be on YouTube. How many? We had 6, 7, 8. I've had between 6 and 8 of these now. I'm not even sure how many, but we are going to keep doing them every Sunday night, 8:30, or it seems like more like 9 p.m. lately when I can get to it. But 8:30, 9 p.m. I'll be on Twitch. I'll be live. One of these days, this chat is probably going to be flying. It's going to be hard for me to keep up with. Always feel free to ask your questions in chat. Again, ask on YouTube if you have them. As long as I can manage them, I'll answer as many questions as I can. But if you're looking, excuse me, my voice is about gone. If you're looking for live lessons, join us at English at the Ready. Go to englishattheready.com. We have a club where we have a few spots left. We have about 120 students. We're capping it there for right now as we stabilize everything and grow to a point where we're ready to expand more. But we have a great group of people, great discussions. We do one English class, live class each week, where we have great discussions, a group of 5 people or less, a small group class. And then we have a master class that we do in the Asian time zone and in the Western time zone, US, Canada time zone. For our students, that's also live. That's a much larger group of people. Usually we have about 20 to 40 people coming to those master classes. And then you get access to all of our recorded video lessons, which are quite a lot like these, like what you see here. A lot of what I add to these weekly roundup streams it's very similar to what we do in our video lessons, right? We do some different things too, but I would say this is quite similar. Down below here, you have the Discord and the Instagram. Feel free to go follow over there. You can always send messages in those places. And then YouTube, BSO_Rice JD. BSO, Bridge School Online, Bridge Gaming. This is me at this point, right? It was incorporated in the past. Right now, just kind of waiting to see how things go. I've told the story in one of the other videos. If you find it, feel free to watch it, ask some questions. You can ask me later and I'll go into the story again. I'm sure I'll tell the story again, but 2021, the double reduction in Chinese education policies, new policies in 2021, change Bridge School Online. Now I've partnered with the Ready to deliver these classes. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thanks for stopping in. Make sure you are following here on Twitch because we need to get to 50 followers to be able to use all the functions Twitch offers. And I'm kind of looking forward to it because that's going to be fun. Something new for me to learn and something new for me to play with. We'll add lots of fun things to it once we get to that point. Again, lessons are free. They're meant to be free. Hope you enjoy them. Use this time that I'm giving on the weekend to ask the questions you have and keep practicing your English. Increase your touch points. Don't give up. Studying languages is difficult, right? And I've learned that a lot of people who are seeking online English education are people who just feel like they don't have time for it otherwise. Take 15 minutes a day, write a journal, write about your day in English, read it out loud to yourself, watch some of these videos on Twitch, on YouTube. Wet your whistle, right? I used this earlier today when I was thirsty because I have to drink something. Wet my whistle. You can wet your whistle with English. Give a little practice once a week, 8:30, 9 p.m. here on Twitch with Bridge Gaming, Bridge School Online. You guys take care. It's been great. And I will see you next week, 8:30, 9 p.m. Keep saying this over and over, don't I? I'm ingraining this in my mind so I watch my time better and don't play with my little girl. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.